Hey guys, in this lesson we're going to talk about developing good strong paradiddle technique. And this is going to apply to paradiddles, paradiddle diddles, double paradiddles, and all sort of variations of those included. So as I mentioned in the previous video, if you haven't watched it, developing finger doubles, I'll put the card right up here, definitely worth a watch if you have not watched that yet. That is a critical part to developing really good quality of sound and speed in paradiddle type exercises. So I've got an exercise that I've called Paradiddle Breakdown, and this is an approach that many people use. I'm certainly not the only person to think of this. I want to put the guys up here in front for a second, right? Paradiddle Breakdown, that's what it looks like. You can again find it like my other stuff on www.drummingwithdray.com, so you can download a copy of that if you want to play along and work on this specific exercise. It's fairly straightforward. Right? But it does involve, in addition to those finger doubles on the diddle, it involves some downstroke control. And if you have not watched the downstroke video, very important, again, I'll put a card up here, you should check that out as well. Now downstroke, if you've seen that, you will recall, requires what I call two main components or two main ingredients, the point and the relax. And you got to have both or you're not doing it right. Right? So when we play a paradiddle, right? Paradiddle really refers to a sticking, but if you go look at like the Vic Firth rudiment chart, you'll see that paradiddle and paradiddle diddle, and those are all double paradiddle, whatever. They're all represented with an accent on the initiating note. All right, so paradiddle might look like as all rebounds, but more conventionally, paradiddle is represented with an accent. All right, so we have a nice downstroke at the beginning of each of these paradiddles, and that ends up actually being part of the challenge. If we're not executing that downstroke properly, the rest of the paradiddle is going to suffer as a result. So you got to have the point to position the stick to play the lower notes that are going to follow, in this case a double in the right hand, right? Of course there's a left hand in the middle, right, before that double, right? But if I don't get the stick in that position, I'm not going to have the height contrast that I want on the paradiddle. That's the point. If I'm not relaxed as I execute that downstroke, if I'm too tight in the hand, when I get around to playing the double, right, I'm already too tense. I don't have time to relax and then execute the double with good sound quality. And that's a problem. So you have to have the point and the relax. And this exercise is really kind of designed to focus you in on that specific aspect of the technique. So let's take a look at the exercise. Let's look at the first measure, right? So the first measure has a bunch of 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, if we look at those counts, right? So we have a downstroke, 1 and a, so we're pointing and relaxing, and then the left hand, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a, 1, all right? Now, as you do this, there's another little trick that's an efficiency of motion kind of thing, and this is really the secret, one of the secrets to getting this much faster and building fast paradiddle technique. And that is, when do you prep the opposite hand? Well, you do it on the diddle. So don't do this where you go 1 and then prep 2. If you wait until you're finished playing on the right hand, you're already too late, right? And you're not going to be able to play this with good flow. So what we want to do is we want to use the opportunity of that double diddle over here on the right hand to upstroke on the left hand. So 1 and that's where we lift, 2 and So use the and the diddle in the paradiddle, or the paradiddle diddle. You use the last diddle as the timing space that you upstroke the next hand for the alternating rep. Right? That's how we get these fast and flowy with good quality of sound, using that good double technique, and by efficiently prepping that upstroke where it is most reasonable to do so, which is on the diddle. All right, so if you want to look at that first measure, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Right, and then it just adds in the missing note of the paradiddle and plays a measure of actual paradiddle. But we're still upstroking on that diddle in the same spot. So nothing changes except we're adding a note. None of the technique, none of the timing of the upstrokes, nothing else changes. All right, just adding that missing note on the E. All right, so the first measure looks like that. 1, along the first and second measure. All right, that's the first measure. And then essentially you're repeating those 2 measures. And then I have a measure at the end that gives you a couple of paradiddle diddles on the right hand. Now obviously when you're doing this on your own, and eventually there will be another exercise that gets into something a little bit more interesting and with a little more variety in it. But I wanted to just throw in the first paradiddle diddle into this kind of conversation since it still does apply. And let's go ahead and start with just the right ones for now. You will want to eventually work on alternating those and being able to play the paradiddle diddle off both hands equally effectively. So it is something that you don't just want to do on the right hand, but for this exercise, that's okay. We're just doing a couple of right-handed paradiddles, or paradiddle diddles. So it looks like this on the end. All right, so 3 downstrokes at the end, 3 or 4 and 1. All right, so we put a metronome on this. I'll put it at 72. This is a really good starting point because it allows you to really kind of think about each stroke and what technique you're using in there. All right, I'm going to put the 8th note subdivision on there to make this a little bit more clear. We really have to apply that downstroke technique properly, so point and relax. All right, so let's run through the whole exercise. I'll put shots of the exercise below as I go and you can follow along. Here we go. 2, ready, and. All right, so this tempo at 72 is a slow-ish tempo. You could certainly justify playing it slower if you're not getting that point relax. If you're not effectively executing that, there's no point in going forward and playing the rest of the exercise. You need to slow it down to where this part is working, right? You're getting the point relax. Right, on all of those downstrokes. That is really crucial. And of course on the double, the little notes in between 1 and a, right, those are effectively 2 little rebound strokes with the fingers, like we worked on with our 12/8 double beat exercise that we learned in the last lesson. All right, so we take this a little bit faster. And again, don't push your tempo until you have mastered the lower tempo. All you will succeed in doing if you try to go too fast too soon is you will build bad muscle memory. And you do not want to do that. That is not a shortcut. That is a scenic route because that will cause you to have to go back and fix those problems later, or you'll just iron in those bad habits and they will become very difficult to break in the future. So it's going to dramatically slow down your progress if you choose to do that. So take your time. Ultimately, I know it seems counterintuitive, but taking your time will ultimately get you to your goal faster. You're going to have to trust me on that, right? So let's do this again. We're going to do it a little bit faster. Let's do 94. I think that's a good sort of moderate, middle of the road tempo. So give you a feel for how this kind of sounds and lays when we're playing it faster. Now again, we're using our mental checklist. We're thinking about those point relaxes on those downstrokes and keeping the fingers engaged and on those diddles in between the accents. Right? And we're having uniform heights on the accents and uniform heights on the taps in between the accents. All right? So definitely a 2-height exercise. Here we go. 2 and 1, 2 and. All right, nice and relaxed. We end up right where we left off. All right, so that is the Paradiddle Breakdown. Hope you find it useful. Go check it out on the www.drummingwithdray.com and download a copy if you haven't already done so. And give it a shot. Spend lots of time on that. Don't go too fast too soon. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? You know the score. I've already said it all a million times. Sorry. So now I'm repeating myself. So let's cut off here and we will see you in the next lesson. Have a good one.